to share a poem that I wrote, a bit in response to what this song, Smile, is about, what we just heard. That even though it's dark, and even though it's cloudy, even though it's cold in our heart, and it feels like a cold night, we can still smile, and God is working. And that reminds me of this world that we're living in. So I'm going to share this poem that I've called Adventus Absurdus on this second Sunday of Advent. In the bleak midwinter, millions are unemployed, uninsured, and under pressure. Widening gap between the haves and the have-nots. Widening and gappening, like Mick Jagger, about to eat all the billions of burgers McDonald serves. From the deforested Brazilian rainforests turned into grazing land to feed our addictions to cheap bovine carcasses infused with hormones, antibiotics, and Monsanto's irreversibly genetically modified pastures. Corporate person-funded presidential candidate cacophony of outrageous claims to undermine and dissolve whatever might be left of our supposedly sacrosanct social safety fishnet stockings with holes in them big enough to let the dying Great Barrier Reef, the hole in the ozone layer, and the too late past the tipping point global warming gases passed by the 7 billion of us we can't seem to stop effing effers flow through. Tune out with our iPods and text while we drive, droning and phoning on about where we are now and how slow the traffic is, as if anyone really cares. We medicate ourselves with dances with the stars and pretending to care about the change in Justin Bieber's hairstyle, Demi's divorce with Ashton, tantric Tebowing, and the life and times of the Kardashians who somehow beamed onto our planet from a wayward script of Star Trek. Yet lo, how a rose. Lo, how a rose ere blooming on Fox News. Awakened ones are on the rise. Literal signs of hope appear. Large white sheets of paper and flattened cardboard spell out what we've all been thinking but have been too inhibited to say. A new day is coming. The ways of today are relics of the past. A new heaven and a new earth are on their way. Sure, some of those sacred but doing it anyways souls who hold those signs are shot point blank with pepper spray and rubber-coated steel bullets. But as with the bleak that happens, so does grace. God is in the house. God is in those who are reclaiming their gifts of prophecy and are speaking truth to power. God is in that slip of paper that protester slipped to Obama. God is in that guy with the funny hat who handed that Fox reporter his donkey with a barrage of undeniable truth. And in how even though they didn't air that clip, if it weren't for Fox being there to interview that guy, those truths wouldn't have hit the net and gone viral. God is in that Iraq war vet and that Methodist pastor and that 84-year-old woman and those kids at Berkeley and Davis who non-violently took it in the face because they can't take it anymore. God is in those who did the spraying, the shooting, and the clubbing, and went home that night feeling remorse and realizing that they are only a paycheck or an injury away of being out on the streets with those protesters. Yeah. God is putting that protest back into Protestant and universal into Catholic, reminding us that we are all in fact one, and we're called to Advent activism. God is in the delightful commingling of Christians, Jews, Muslims, Buddhists, pagans, socialists, and anarchists. God is in those who are persecuted for his name's sake and accused of associating with sinners and tax collectors by those who forget that it is exactly those persons who Jesus hung out with. God is in the Christians in Egypt who are protecting Muslim protesters at prayer, and in the Muslims who are protecting Coptic churches. God is in the atheists and agnostics who are sacrificing and softening their grudges against the church. God is in the brave gay and lesbian celebrities, politicians, and athletes who are telling bullied queer young people that it gets better. And God is in the ironic common ground between the occupiers and the Tea Partiers. Inexplicably, subversively, and completely under our nose, God is here and on the move. As in clandestine ways of old, where God raised Hebrew leaders in Pharaoh's midst, and where God came to dwell with us as a bastard in a barn, the still small voice still speaketh.
Amen.